Most people think they're stuck in patterns because they haven't healed enough, or tried hard enough, or figured themselves out yet. That's not what's happening. If you keep becoming the same kind of person in different situations, the helper, the fighter, the thinker, the creator who never rests, it's not a personality flaw. It's not even from this lifetime. You're not repeating patterns. You're carrying something that never got to finish. And once you see that, the way you've been trying to change yourself stops making sense. And no, this isn't about past lives or stories. It's about why your body keeps stepping in before you choose. And this isn't philosophy. This is something I had to see in my own life before it made any sense. See, I misunderstood archetypes for most of my life. See, for a long time, I thought I was moving through archetypes because I was confused or fragmented or just trying to figure out who I was supposed to be. I thought it was a kind of identity search. And that turns out not to be true. I wasn't moving through archetypes because I was searching for myself. I was moving through them because the conditions I incarnated into activated them. And see, once I understood that, the whole model changed. The soul doesn't choose archetypes, the soul chooses conditions. And once you understand how conditions work, archetypes lose all their feeling of mysteriousness. You see, the soul chooses things like timelines, lineages, bodies, nervous systems, cultural pressure, historical memory, even epigenetic inheritance. And once those conditions are in place, archetypes arise as a mechanical consequence. So they don't, you see, archetypes aren't costumes the soul puts on. They're continuity structures that matter uses when experience can't fully complete yet. And that unfinished quality doesn't start in one lifetime. When a lifetime ends without a full inward return, nothing resets at the level of matter and memory. The soul isn't damaged by this, the soul remains coherent, but the orientation that allowed matter to survive and function carries forward. That isn't a decision, it's basic continuity. So the next incarnation doesn't arrive neutral, instead it arrives inside a field that's already shaped to evoke certain response patterns. That's why some people come in already knowing how to fight or heal or teach or withdraw or endure or create or stay alert. They don't choose those traits. They entered conditions that literally required them. So when I took a look at my own life through that lens, it became really clear that it was never about becoming something new. It was about entering a lineage and a timeline that could hold what was already active. Yeah, in my case, it was the artist, warrior, priest. Those archetypes didn't show up because I admired them or aspired to them. They showed up because my body, my family system, and my historical inheritance could support their activation. Lineages that know readiness, lineages that know thresholds, and that know ritual and meaning and perception beyond visible. You don't make that up, you step into a river that's already moving. And once you're in that river, archetypes don't ask permission. They surface automatically when the environment demands a response. When usefulness equaled survival, the healer showed up, not as generosity, but as a reflex care, stabilize, support. And as long as someone needed me, that system stayed oriented. That was virtue, that was continuity, it was maintenance. And at other times, knowledge became the anchor. If I could understand things, map them, explain them, predict what was coming, then chaos could be kept at bay. The teach archetype wasn't about wisdom, it was about maintaining coherence without using force. And when explanation stopped working, altitude took over. Priest, seeker, mystic. Meaning became distance. If I could have stayed high enough, nothing could touch me. That wasn't transcendence, it was protection. So when you recognize this within yourself, you realize that nothing has gone wrong. There were also periods where only readiness worked. The warrior doesn't exist because violence is noble. The warrior exists because preparedness preserved integrity in certain environments. And when preparedness failed, innocence emerged. The victim isn't weakness. The victim is the structure that says, if I don't act, I can't be blamed. Same function, different shape. So this next part surprised me the most because I really related to it. They're the archetypes that people romanticize: creation, brilliance, reframing reality, the artist, the magician. And these aren't hobbies, these are high-speed evasions. As long as something new is forming, nothing has to settle. As long as there's another idea, another project, another interpretation, the inward return can just literally be postponed. And that's how unfinished memory hides inside creativity. Now, here's a clarification that's important. Archetypes aren't mistakes, they aren't failures, and they aren't identities. They're evidence that experience continued where completion wasn't yet tolerable. And this is where the dimensional distinction really comes into play. This is where most spiritual conversations quietly get it wrong. See, archetypes don't live in the soul dimension. They live in the same dimension as matter, bodies, behavior, memory, culture, repetition, consequence. That's why they have power. See, the soul doesn't behave, the soul doesn't strategize, the soul doesn't repeat patterns. Matter does. Archetypes are how matter organizes experience when coherence isn't stable yet. They show up as habits, as reflexes, roles, and default responses under pressure. They don't shape being, they shape doing. Which means archetypes don't matter spiritually. They matter practically. They only matter where consequence exists, and consequence exists only here in matter. And that matters. And this is where things actually start to change. The soul doesn't incarnate to fix itself. It incarnates to experience life. Pure consciousness can witness. Pure energy can know. But neither can feel consequence. Only a body can feel effort. Only a body can feel risk. And only a body can feel choice under pressure. Only form can hold time long enough for a cycle to either complete or carry forward. That's why archetypes don't dissolve just because we outgrow them. They dissolve when the inward return becomes tolerable to the body. Until then, they remain necessary. This is the part that finally made it workable for me. This is also where archetypes become useful for the human mind. Living directly from field coherence doesn't work for thought. The field is relational, it's dynamic, it's multi-directional. Thought can't operate there directly. It needs compression. Without compression, the mind fragments or freezes or just disassociates. And archetypes provide handles. They compress vast field states into recognizable response patterns. Not truth, just not identity, response shapes. They let the psyche say, this is how I tend to respond when pressure shows up. And that recognition alone changes the equation, because the moment a response is seen as archetypal, it's no longer mistaken for self. That doesn't fix it, doesn't heal it, and it doesn't transcend it, but it decenters it. And from that decentering, coherence has a chance to appear. Because at that point, archetypes become compression tools rather than controllers. Yeah, they're still there, but they're no longer running the show. The artist can create without escaping. The warrior can act without bracing. The priest can sense meaning without leaving the body. And sometimes, none of them are needed at all. That's coherence. Not the absence of archetypes, but the absence of domination. So let me show you the whole sequence cleanly. The full sequence is simple when you see it. The soul establishes orientation. The field sets relational conditions. Scenarios arise inside those conditions. Archetypal responses activate in matter. And coherence is what allows response to come from presence instead of repetition. That's the entire mechanism. So my life was never about finding the right archetype. It was about becoming the lifetime capable of holding all of them without being run by any of them. That is an achievement. It's timing, it's alignment between soul, body, lineage, and moment. And it changes how I see discomfort. When nothing is happening, that isn't failure. It's the edge of an inward return that the body couldn't support before. The urge to become someone again, to help or fight or explain or create isn't identity. It's the system checking whether the old structure is still needed or required. So this lifetime is different for one reason. The body can now hold inward fold. Experience can settle without needing to become something in response. Movement doesn't stop, it just stops coming from survival. It comes from center, not because the soul learned something new, but because matter no longer has to carry what was unfinished. There's the still point, and the soul has always known it. The body couldn't always hold it safely. This lifetime can. And that's what I'll be exploring next, which doesn't look like survival anymore.